All right, good evening, YouTube. Um, I want to talk about something real quick about an experience that I had. Well, I really don't need to go into the specific experience that I had. I'll just say this. I find the world that we live in interesting. It's an interesting world here, okay? We're living in very interesting times. And possibly, any time on this earth is an interesting time. Um, I want to caution people out there who are moving into a space of liberating themselves, okay, from maybe some old ways of being, some old ways of living, some old ways of thinking, okay, or escaping this kind of I want to say a brutal reality that was not of their own making. All right. But maybe you awakened to something, okay, about yourself. And in that awakening to the truth about yourself, okay, that something is truth about yourself, okay, uh, it takes work. You can awaken to it, you can become knowledgeable of it. But because you become knowledgeable about the truth about yourself, does not mean, okay, that overnight or as soon as you find out, now you are living in that truth. Because most of the time, uh, well, because you're not. If you have so many years of living a lie, and when I say that, I don't mean like you intentionally were lying, but things were said to you and done to you to make you become something that you weren't. Okay, which is quite a few of us, probably most of us. And then you awaken to the truth about yourself, whatever that may be. And ultimately, hopefully, that truth will be that you are a divine being. No mistake. Okay. And I'm not talking in the simple realm of God don't make no mistakes. If you want to look at it that way, that's fine too. But I'm not talking about attributing your being to anything outside of yourself. Okay. Now, you can look at it as God creating you. God don't make no junk. You know these things that we've heard over the years, okay? Even, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. That fearfully usually is better translated, I believe, to awesomely made. Okay. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. And you will have energies in your life or people in your life who will see that in you and do whatever they can to destroy that marvelous work, okay, or diminish it and diminish it to the point where you don't even see it in yourself. Um, Now I'm doing this off the fly here, so I don't have no notes in front of me or nothing like that. Okay, so bear with me as I gather my thoughts together. But to do things to remove that greatness in you. Okay, and often this is done to us when we are children. Okay, and not only we might have a family that does it to us, then you go out in the world and it does it to you. Okay. And this constant things are, we receive a barrage of constant messages that say, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. And hence we find ourselves saying, what? I'm not perfect. Yes, you are. Now, there might be some things about you that may be problematic for the society or a particular cultural way of thought and being. But especially so when you live in a world that seeks to control you, tame you, put you under some kind of submission, make you be and do what it wants you or they want you to do and be. So you receive a constant barrage of images, okay, that make you think, okay, well, for example, my body is not good enough. This ain't right, that ain't right, this ain't right, and that ain't right about my body. Or you need to be this particular way in order to succeed. And it may just be something about you that does not flow into that small little box of what that particular way is, when you got thousands, millions, or however many people walking around and roaming this earth. Who determined what's in that little box that everybody's supposed to fit into? Okay. This is how you're supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to act. This is how you're supposed to look. This is how you're supposed to think in order to be whatever, accepted, successful. And usually the successful is based upon what, okay, again, another false ideology that has been thrown at you to make you think this is the only way I can be if I want to be quote unquote successful. And the society, somebody in the society or somebody has determined what that success is supposed to be and look like. That you didn't have no part nor say in that. So we're constantly living in a space and world and realm where we are basically told, in so many words, after we've been diminished, we basically trained to diminish ourselves. You know, like they say, what they said about, you know, the slaves, okay? You know, make them, you know, you diminish them so much. And this ain't no black and white thing. Giving you an example. Diminish them so much that they won't have to ask you to walk through the back door. They just gonna automatically walk through the back door because they feel like that's where they belong, because that's what they've been told and trained to think and believe, programmed. I belonged to a group one time, and they told us that people say that we're programming your mind. And they said, you know what? That's exactly what we're doing. We're reprogramming your mind. You already been programmed. And then you walk your little path and walk your little life. That shit been done to you since you was born, since probably before you was born, because mom and daddy had the problem is in their egg and their sperm, which formed you. All right. And then here you come in the world, they do it to you, especially if they see something light and bright in you, because they never, uh, unlock the chains that were placed on them. So they're going to lock some on you. Maybe some from thinking, okay, this is the best thing because we want this child or to be successful. And sometimes out of a jealous heart, a jealous spirit, they do it to you. It's done to you. And you begin to do it yourself and feel like you ain't shit until you do this or until you do that, until you get them degrees, until you get these A's in school, until you blah, 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 whatever it may be. And that shit just goes down generationally, generation to generation to generation. Until somebody says, no more. You're not going to diminish my being. And by God's grace, if, you know, by God's grace, you hopefully may wake up to that reality and to that truth of this is not who I am. This does not fit who I am. And every time this shit is thrown at me and on my shoulders, in my mind, it makes me uncomfortable and it makes me question myself. It makes me all the more feel like I ain't right, I ain't shit, and I got to do this and I got to do that. And every time I take a step forward, somebody come along and tell me, what ain't right about me again. And instead of reasoning that something else, that's them, that's perspective, I'm fine just like I am. No, we fall back and feel like every time I take a step forward, I'm throwing 2 steps back. I ain't good enough. I keep messing up. I ain't trying hard enough. My personality stinks. I got to go get therapy, and I'm not putting that down for when it's truly needed. In order to fit or be some kind of robotic uh conformist to make everybody else around me feel comfortable. I can't say this, I can't say that, I can't do this, I can't do that. And for some reason, I keep doing it. Now, don't get me wrong. If there's something that you are doing that is uh, not healthy for you or anyone else around you, that's different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about some normal everyday behaviors that this world will do everything in their power to shut down and remove from you in order for you to be some kind of conformist. And oftentimes, people that do that to you are people that have some kind of jealous, envious spirit towards you because they see some kind of freedom in you that they don't have. Or they probably have, but they have not worked to unlock, to walk in that freedom and be their true divine self. Now, I'm just going to use the example of Jesus for a second. I know it wasn't no J in the Hebrew uh, alphabet at the time. Yeshua. Okay. Well, I'm talking about the character here. Okay. The story. Just like we might talk about Spider-Man or Peter Pan or some shit like that. Okay. But when you read about this character, okay, this figure rather, one of the problems that people had with him was what? He was himself, and he was what he believed to be his divine self. This is who I am. And this is who I'm going to be. And I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And I'm going to call you out for who and exactly what the fuck you are. Now, I'll be reading, I've read some of these Bible stories. Okay, I'll get to that one eventually. Because a lot of this walking around with what would Jesus do, folks ain't doing. Called them out for who and what they were. I was listening to somebody recently. I can't remember who it was. Somebody here on YouTube. Might have been a tarot reading. I remember who it was. Okay. Tarot reader. And she was talking about the fig tree. Where that tree wasn't, Jesus went to it, to get some fruit. And it didn't bring forth no fruit. So he killed it. Now folks will say, that ain't right. But you asking, what would Jesus do? You're not bringing forth any fruit. Be gone. If people coming up to you and they're not doing anything to bring forth any fruit, anything, speaking words and life into you to bring forth any fruit from you, okay, or they're not, or I'll put it better yet, they're not bringing you any fruit when they open their mouth, be gone. Now, I ain't saying you got to say all that. It's in your actions. Okay, because words, speaking words, a lot of times doesn't mean anything. Your action backs up the words. When people come up to you with that kind of shit to diminish you, especially when you've done work on yourself, especially when you have gotten to a place in your life where you discovered the truth of your being, and that all that shit that you were living for so long was because somebody lied to you about you and planted seeds within you, diminished you so much that they planted these seeds in you that grew where you were diminishing yourself, and you wake up from that and realize the divine being that you are, and you're doing your work to walk into that space and become that person that you were destined to be, that your soul destined you to be on this earth, to do whatever it is that you are set here to do. And because see, they're going to keep coming. And they're going to come with a smile on their face. Okay. A lot of times because of this past trauma of being diminished and diminishing oneself, we can fall right back into that. Listen, change your perspective. Bullshit. Okay? See it for what it is. More bullshit. Now you may, you get tired of that shit. You're tired of that shit. Because they're living in their chains that they can't break free from. So they find a way to come in with a smile on their face and supposed concern. You better know thyself and worry not one bit, okay, about something that is of no significance and no consequence to your reality and your being, and this truth that you have awakened to, that you are a divine being. Period. Whether folks like it or not. Back to what I was saying about Jesus. He wasn't here to be liked. He had a mission. Okay. I ain't talking about scratch. This ain't no proselytizing of Christianity. Okay. So for those that may have a difficult time understanding that, he that hath an ear, let him hear, move on basically. Because I'm not here to proselytize anybody into anything. Talking about the figure. I can talk about a whole lot of other historical figures. Okay, whether they existed or not, the story is still there. We know Spider-Man ain't exist. We know all of them Marvel characters ain't exist, supposedly. Okay, but what? We look at the story, we look at the character and who they were and what they were about. So that's the point that I'm coming from. And that was one of the, he talked too much. You talk too much. That was a political situation. You talk too much. You speak too much truth. And if he did not speak the truth, he would not have done what he came here to do. I'm going to say what I'm going to say and do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to speak the truth. Yeah, he got persecuted for it. You're going to get persecuted for it. But see, these type of people and these type of energies, they're going to persecute you one way or the other. See, when they was diminishing you and basically telling you wasn't shit with a smile on their face, for you to begin to tell yourself that, okay, they were persecuting you. Then you wake up and see the truth. Then here they come for more persecution. You, like I said, know thyself. And if you had a fell for it, He would have been the weakling that they tried to present him as being until you read it for yourself. And maybe do a little study and say, this was the problem. The man's talked too much. And when I say that, I mean he said things that the society did not want to hear because it was going against the grain of whatever their agenda was. And people got agendas in your life. Everybody's not your friend, and everybody doesn't have your best interest at heart. And usually those who say they do are the ones who do not. Those who show you they do. Okay? Pay attention to that. To when they come, and you start to feel that uneasy feeling that you might have felt before, and start questioning yourself and put yourself down, especially after you've done some work on yourself. Banish that, pull back, change your perspective. Wait a minute, I'm a divine being. Okay? I'm here for a purpose, whatever it is. Even if you don't know what it is, you still know that you are here for a purpose. And one of them is, you damn sure ain't here to be diminished by nobody and be controlled by nobody. I cannot stand a person who does their damnedest to try to control another human being without any merit for it, and try to imprison them, okay, and cloak them and hide them because they can't stand them, because they remind them of who they are not and what they could not, or either refused to do, would not do, out of their own fear. Now, if you're living in your fear, of a person living in it, let them live in it. You go live in yours. And leave folks alone, but you're not. So for those who are not, okay, realize, okay, what I'm trying to say is, for those who are not going to live in their fear, okay, or live in fear rather, understand you're going to have many more who will. And because you're not, and because you are awakened, and you probably, even before you woke up to yourself, you probably was bright as fuck and didn't know it. And then you awaken to yourself, you're even brighter. Honey, the light is blinding. I can't stand it. This is what I'm saying. This is their feeling. They cannot stand it. You are too much of a reminder of something in them that they have not done or would not do. Remember who you are. So when that feeling comes, I'm a divine being. Let them go live in their fear and they mask. And you walk upright in you. That's all I have to say. Just needed to get it off my chest. Just needed to vent that. I'm telling you, people will come along and try to plant a seed so deep in the root of your being. They will look for your weakness. They will test you a little bit here and a little bit there. And when they see that thing, that weakness, then here comes more bullshit and more bullshit and more bullshit. And I am not saying that to you to say to you, so don't do this, don't do that. You do you. Live you. Be you. Walk in your you. Because whether you do or you don't, they coming with garbage. Get that dirt off your shoulder. Slough it off. Throw it away. Moving the fuck on. That's all I got to say. Y'all be blessed. Peace.